State 4-H Council and the 4-H program has been given a great opportunity to partner with the Tennessee Beef Industry Council for their program called Cowboy in the Classroom. A little bit about the program. The Tennessee Beef Industry Council Tennessee 4-H and State Council has been given a great opportunity to partner with the Tennessee Beef Industry Council to implement their program titled Cowboy in the Classroom. A little bit about the program involves the Tennessee Beef Industry Council, which is a council that by law allows producers who sell cattle, they have to pay $1 per head to support beef. And the Beef Industry Council uses that money to build demand for beef in Tennessee. They use that money to support state development programs such as education, food service, and retail service. Cowboy in the Classroom is a tool to utilize and share the beef story in agriculture. So a little bit about the program and what's expected of you. As a state council member, you will need to be available for 1-hour sessions or longer, depending upon your school and their time slots available. Read a beef cattle book that's geared towards appropriate ages. There's 2 different books. We have Beef Cattle and A to Z book, which is geared toward kindergarten through 2nd grade. And that book just goes through the alphabet and tells a little bit about the beef story. Now, the beef cattle story in the story of agriculture is more for your 3rd through 5th grades who have a little bit more understanding probably of agriculture. And it's a little bit more expansive book, and it tells the beef cattle cycle through agriculture. With these books, you're also given lesson plans, activity sheets, as well as games that you can share with those kids. So a lot of teachers are going to ask, what are curriculum standards that these books provide? Well, the 2 books provide both alphabet and letter recognition. You're able to have letter to sound correlations. These book provides nutrition information as it relates to beef. It provides exposure to agriculture with these kids. It has an expanded vocabulary with words that they may or may not have seen or used before. These books also give you a detailed information of the life cycle with also environmental sciences, byproduct information, as well as transportation. Now, the lesson plans provide a little bit different take on some of the things that are expounded on in these books, but you can have activities through mathematics. You have spelling opportunities. They're able to learn how to use a dictionary as well as map reading. So for more information on what is expected of you, or if you have questions about what you're supposed to do as being a cowboy in this classroom, you can contact the Tennessee Beef Industry Council or Tennessee 4-H. Now that you know a little bit about what the program is, we think that it's important to give you a crash course or an overview of the beef industry so that you can be the best ambassadors for beef that you possibly can. So the faces of the U.S. agriculture in Tennessee and in the entire United States is the beef cattle industry is the largest single segment, and that covers about 35% of the agriculture industry. The beef industry is comprised of more than 1 million businesses, farms, and ranches, and has over 800,000 cattle producers in the United States. 97% of the farms in the United States are family-owned and operated, and only 79% raise less than 50 head per year. So a little bit of a glance at the U.S. cattle inventory, or the amount of beef cattle that we have in the United States. We have 90 million cattle as of 2014, which provides $66 billion of added value to the United States economy. In 2007, we were running about 660,000 animals harvested per week, which generates to be roughly around 34.3 million that was harvested in total per that year. In 2014, the U.S. total beef exports were around 5.6 billion pounds, and our top export markets go to Canada, Japan, Mexico, South Korea, as well as Hong Kong. Now, a little bit of a different take on the beef industry. A lot of people just assume that we export most of our beef and that we don't usually keep our beef, but that is not true. About 90% of the beef that's raised in the United States is actually sold here in America, so you don't have to worry about consuming beef from other countries that may or may not have the same restrictions that we have imposed, and only 10% is exported out into those top export markets. So when you think about the beef industry, we have production stages. We have the cow-calf operation, we go through weaning, stockers and backgrounders, then we go to our livestock auction markets, the feed yard or feedlots, packing plants, and food and service retail. So when you think about each of these segments of the stages, number one is, of course, the cow-calf operation. And beef production begins with ranchers and farmers who maintain a breeding herd of cows that nurture calves every year. And when a calf is born, it weighs 60 to 100 pounds depending on the breed. And over the next few months, each calf will live off of its mother's milk and graze in pastures until it's ready to go to step 2, which is weaning. Beef calves are weaned at about 6 to 10 months of age when they weigh between 450 and 700 pounds. In the state of Tennessee, we usually try to focus our calves being on the higher end of that spectrum, being around 650 to 700 pounds. And these calves right now at the weaning stage are probably fed creep feed, which is just probably maybe 50 to 75 pounds for maybe 20 calves, and then the rest of them they're fed on grass-fed pasture. After weaning, they are sent then to stockers and backgrounders, which would be the third step. And this is just where cattle can continue to grow and thrive by grazing and maybe a little bit of enhanced feed through this stocker and backgrounder phase. Then we travel to stage number 4, which is our livestock auction markets. And after weaning and or during the stocker and backgrounder phase, these cows are sold at livestock auction markets. Some big ones in the state of Tennessee are Athens. We have one in Columbia, Unionville, Crossville has one, and then there's some in West Tennessee as well. And about a third of cows stay on the farm for breeding purposes, and then the rest are, of course, sent to these livestock auction markets. The 5th phase is the feed yard. And this is a step in beef production when mature calves are moved to feed yards, or also called feedlots, and they typically spend about 4 to 6 months, during which time they have constant access to water. They're able to move around and are free to graze at feed bunks containing a carefully balanced diet. Veterinarians, nutritionists, and cattlemen work together to look after each animal through this. In stage number 6, we have the packing plant, and once cattle reach a market weight, which in the United States is typically 1,200 to 1,400 pounds, and they're around 18 to 22 months of age, they are sent to our processing facility. United States Department of Agriculture inspectors are stationed in all federally inspected packing plants and oversees the implementation of safety, animal welfare, and quality standards from the time animals enter the plant until the final beef products are shipped to grocery stores and restaurant establishments nationwide. Then when we get to the final step or stage of this production process is the food service and retail. And this is when beef is shipped and sold in the United States and then also abroad. In the retail and food service channels, operators take steps to provide consumers with the most safe and wholesome product. So where does Tennessee fall in the role of beef cattle production? Well, Tennessee is known as a cow-calf or a feeder calf state, meaning that typically whenever those calves hit weaning, age at about 6 to 10 months, they are shipped to out west to be a part of the stocker and backgrounder phase. Tennessee has 40,000 plus cattle producers according to the Tennessee State website. Beef cattle and beef is Tennessee's top grossing commodity, and it accounts for 16.7% of all agriculture cash receipts in the state. Tennessee currently ranks 9th in beef cattle production with 1.83 million head. Now, this has been the lowest number since 1953, and some reasons for us having the lowest cattle inventory number nationwide is because of the cost to retain heifers is so high. Number 2, cow-calf producers have a long period of narrow margins, and they have wanted to have a longer period of strong margins to build their confidence and to take back their market uncertainties. And then a third reason would be the drought that is still covering substantial areas of brood cow production across the United States. So some popular breeds in Tennessee is you've got Angus, Brahma, Brangus, Charolais, Gelbvieh, Hereford, Shorthorn, Simmental, Beefmaster, Santa Gertrudis, Gelbvieh, Key Angus. And on this next slide, you'll get to see some pictures of an Angus bull, a Charolais cow, a Hereford cow-calf pair, some Limousines, Shorthorns, and then Simmental. So the top 5 cuts, whenever you think of, we've been through the cattle phase where they're alive, but whenever you think about what you are given in the supermarket, the top 5 cuts that most consumers want is the chuck pot roast, the top loin steak, or also known as a Kansas City or a New York strip steak. You've got your top round steak, your top sirloin steak, and then that T-bone steak that's probably the most familiar. And those are the pictures of most of those top 5 cuts, with the exception of up in the upper left-hand corner being your ribeye, which is also very popular in the United States. So whenever you think about what you're consuming in beef, beef is one powerful protein, and sometimes it gets a bad reputation for being unhealthy or high in fat, but 29 cuts of beef actually classify as USDA lean, and this means that they have less than 10 grams of total fat, 4.5 grams or less of saturated fat, and less than 95 milligrams of cholesterol. And a lot of those top 5 cuts that we just mentioned are actually examples of some of those lean cuts of meat. You've got your T-bone, top sirloin, and also the tenderloin. In a 3-ounce serving of beef, which is around 153 calories, is said to provide 48% of your daily protein requirements, 44% of the daily needs of vitamin B12, 40% of your daily need of selenium, 36% of your daily need of zinc, 26% of your daily need of niacin, and then 22% of vitamin B6. And I'm sure some of you are saying, well, what do each of these contribute to the daily life cycle? Well, you know, calorie for calorie, it's one of the best food choices that you consume. Vitamin B12 aids in the normal functioning of body cells and also in your nervous system. Selenium protects our bodies from damaging radicals and helps reduce the risk of heart disease. Zinc fuels thousands of bodily processes. Niacin promotes healthy skin and also aids in normal digestion. And vitamin B6 helps to produce antibodies that's needed to fight off infections. Some other uses of beef is about a third of a beef carcass is used for byproducts. So that would include crayons, leather, soap, gummy bears, marshmallows, insulin for diabetic patients, other medical uses. They use beef in heart transplants and for some other types of medicine. So for more information about the beef industry and the role that Tennessee plays, you can visit the National Cattlemen Beef Association's website. They have 3 different ones. They have www.beef.org, beefusa.org, and then beefnutrition.org. And then also another great resource for you as Tennessee residents is the Tennessee Beef Industry Council. And their website is laid out really well to provide you with the most in-depth information that's pertinent to our state.